Well, welcome everybody to the Point podcast. I am your co-host, Zack Bloom, alongside.
I'm Sean McCormick.
And Sean, let's get right into it today. So I think today's show, we're gonna go through our predictions for 2025. Kind of alluded to that on the wrap up of the 2024 show. I made a LinkedIn post about some predictions. I know you wrote an article about it. So I think we're gonna go through each other's and just go through the list, see what happens, talk about them. And
you want to do it like round robin style? You go through a prediction, I go through a prediction.
I love it.
Okay.
All right. So you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So in my LinkedIn post article that I wrote, I predicted that Q1 lead gen revenues will tank.
Very optimistic.
Well, the rest of the year is optimistic, right? My prediction on that, and it's probably not as much a hot take as it is dependent on new TCPA changes. Yep. I think Monday, 1-to-1 consent is rolled out. Everything has been upheld in the new laws and regulations. So those are going through. So if you have not updated yet and you were hoping for these to be rolled back, you are what we call fucked.
Is it Monday or is it the 27th?
It's the 27th. Is that not Monday?
That is not Monday.
Okay.
So you might not be fucked yet, but you are imminently fucked.
Yeah, it's happening. So I guess my take on that, though, is this, that a lot of the lead buyers are going to sit on the sidelines in Q1. They're going to wait to see what happens from a regulatory standpoint.
Okay.
They're going to wait to see what happens with publishers, how they implement, adopt new changes. So my suggestion or my prediction more so is Q1 lead gen revenues will tank. And I think the only way to there's kind of two ways to truth that, right? One is to see how QuinStreet's revenues look. Their business is predominantly focused on lead gen. Yep. So looking at their Q1 revenues will be very telling on how we did as a quarter, how much TCPA impacted it. The second way to truth it is really when we get to LeadsCon, talking to everyone, and was that March or April?
April.
Yeah. We'll start talking to everyone and getting a better sense of how Q1 went. But my gut is Q1 is going to be a bloodbath. And it typically is in lead gen. Q1 is typically the worst quarter of the year. I don't know. Maybe it's not so much a prediction as it is a hard forecast.
Okay. I tend to agree with you. The only thing is, and I don't know if anyone watching this has seen the same thing, but it seems like a lot of the publishers, at least that, we work with on our other business, not mentioning on the show right now, they're all prepared. They're doing things the right way. It doesn't seem like the buyers are that concerned about it. You'd think like they would be asking the questions to make sure that the compliance was in place and, want to see what's going on. It doesn't seem like any of the buyers care yet.
I think you're right. I haven't seen as much pushback in conversations with buyers about some of the things I'd expect, specifically, show me your updated consent language, show me your updated landing pages, show me your updated copy creative. They haven't been pushing back as hard on that as I suspected they would at this point, which tells me one of two things. They're going to sit Q1 out and wait and see. Or the second thing is they are really cowboys and they are going to wait and see what some of these lawsuits look like and adapt based on what they see in the market. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see an 800-pound gorilla get taken down, and you're going to see a small guy, someone that we all know that you're like, holy crap, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anyone. Right. And so that's going to what shakes the industry with the big guys, and then it's going to shake the publishers and the little guys. So that's what I think will happen. I don't think that'll happen in Q1, but that will certainly happen in 2025.
Okay. I think you're right. I hope you're wrong. I hope everybody has a good Q1 revenue-wise, or at least good pipeline, but I tend to agree with you on that.
I hope I'm wrong too.
All right, so that's your first prediction.
Yeah.
Mine, I can't memorize it like you. I'm going to read just from the post.
Oh, hold on. I'm not memorizing it. I have it on the screen over there.
Well, I said the auto insurance and debt verticals will have huge years in the pay-per-call space. Lead gen as well, but calls are king. Auto insurance is something we saw kind of late last year really start to get some steam behind it with demand. And then debt is one of those things where whatever your view is of the economy, it does seem like people have more money now, which for debt settlement is good because they could start paying down their debt. And so they have not great financial situation, but enough money to now start paying down and getting out of some of the hell that they're under. So those are two verticals I think are going to have a really big year revenue-wise. I think there'll be a lot of demand for it across the board. And if you're a media buyer, they are two that I would recommend getting into, whether it's putting sites together, whether it's buying Google or social ads or doing something outside the box. I tend to think those are two that I think will have really, really big years.
Yeah. So that's good. I think you're probably going to be accurate on that, but I guess time will tell. Can I take a sidebar with you for a minute?
Sure.
So you mentioned two awesome verticals, insurance and debt. Thinking back to the lender to model, when banks compete, you win. What do you think will happen? Like for the consumer, like thinking about this from the consumer standpoint, like TCPA is very good for the consumer, but when you don't have competition in the marketplace on a lead gen form, so for example, in debt, they may not get competitive rates from multiple individuals, or auto insurance, you may just get one quote.
Right.
Do you think that's good for the consumer, bad for this consumer, or indifferent?
I'd say indifferent right now. I think it's probably bad for the buyer, which might sound weird, but they may not have something to pitch against,
Yeah.
But I think a smart consumer is still going to do some shopping. But again, that's where I am always a big advocate of the pay per call space, specifically because if you have someone on the phone and you're good at what you do on the brand side, you can close them right there. You don't have to compare. You don't have to send them multiple lead quotes to see. So
I think you're right. I believe that I've written off the aggregators for a while now, the lending trees, the EverQuotes, the ADU classes USA type model. But if those large aggregators can figure out inbound calls, it may save their business from tanking, right? Because they get a consumer on the phone, they can quote several different products while they have them on the phone. So who knows? Maybe we see consumers actually go more towards the aggregators, but on a pay-per-call basis as opposed to a cost per lead.
Yeah, I think you're right. If they change their mindset and how they do business, for sure. So we can help there. So.
We certainly can.
All right. So moving on, your second prediction.
Yeah. So my next, lead quality will skyrocket, right? Again, not a hot take. I think, we saw this many years ago in the EDU space when EDU leads were sold 5 times, 7 times, and then a regulation came in saying the most you can sell an EDU lead for higher ed for-profit colleges, university was 3 times. We saw the lead quality and conversion rates significantly improve almost overnight. I believe we'll see that in lead gen across the board. Also, interestingly though, in EDU, what do you think would be higher, a 1-to-1 lead or a 1-to-3 lead? So meaning a lead is sold once or a lead is sold 3 times?
I would say 3 times, but I'm probably wrong.
You are right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm right.
So there's this notion called the Starbucks effect. And if you haven't heard it about the Starbucks effect, is what it is when Starbucks move into a New York City block and there's a coffee shop already there, the coffee shop revenues actually go up as opposed to decrease. And what happens is the demand for coffee, just with Starbucks being there, goes up. So people typically buy more coffee. And I think what will happen in lead gen is, it did in EDU. You have 3 individuals you're speaking to that are constantly contacting you about going back to school. It's informing you, you're getting more information, you're able to make a decision faster, but you're also able to find the right fit. So I think 3 is the magic number. And I hope the lead gen industry can actually find common ground in getting, instead of 1-to-1 is 1-to-3.
And there's nothing wrong with 3. I think we just want to avoid 20 or 23. It's crazy. So
I think anything over 3 is really, it's detrimental to the consumer.
Yeah. And that, the smart shopper mentality, I think if you know what you're looking for, you're probably going to get 2 to 3 quotes, right? So
you'd hope so. Yeah.
That kind of, I think I agree with you there. That ties into my third prediction, which is the FCC's 1-to-1 consent rule will take effect in 2025. I said it will be delayed, but it will take effect and begin the long-awaited and much-needed cleanup of the lead generation industry. It doesn't look like it's going to be delayed right now, but it's still about a week to go. So I do think parts of it are going to still be delayed. That's my prediction. But overall, we've hit on 1-to-1 enough on this show. I think we're all in agreement that the space is going to be cleaned up for the better.
Yeah. So TCPA World released an article this morning.
Okay.
And if you're not part of Reach, you should consider becoming part of Reach.
I agree.
They released that a company tried to get a stay, meaning that the rules will stay in place as they are and the new won't come into account. That was denied. So we are moving towards this 1-to-1. So again, I don't think it's going to change. I think it's happening whether we like it or not. And I think it's good for the consumer. I think it's good for business. And I think it leads into my next prediction, which is a new Titan will arise, right? And you think of industry titans, I think of, what DMS built for a long time there. Obviously they're going through some health issues. You look at Quinn Street being a publicly traded company. You look at EverQuote, publicly traded. LendingTree, I don't remember if they were publicly traded. I think they were. They might still be. I'm not sure. We'll have to truth that later. But I really believe that a new titan will emerge in the sense that someone who figures out this one-to-one in a way that really benefits the consumer will be the major winner. I believe, and I've spoken with Steve Rafferty from Active Prospect at Lead Gen World about this, is there's probably going to be a conduit, an app that's built where a consumer can control their information. So they enter it in once. That information never gets siphoned out to the buyer. But what will happen is a buyer will be able to quote. So it'll be like a hashed email. It'll be encrypted data that, they'll have a database to unencrypt it, but the brand will never get consent to contact. So all information will happen in the app, and the brand or the carrier's brands, whatever you might want it on, that's providing the quote, will communicate in the app. So the consumer can turn off, turn on communication however they want, and it's all controlled in their environment. I think that will be the new titan that emerges in some way, shape, or form, or some iteration of that.
Is it going to look like this? There was a lot of
I hope
this
not.
the entire time.
I hope not. That's, gosh, I hope not.
Again, I tend to agree. And then obviously there'll be the copycat model where someone will break through and then there'll be 50,000 other versions and variations of it. But I think it's an exciting time. I think things will be shaken up a little bit, but for the better overall. I know those that don't want to adapt or are scared to are probably going to not be swept out of the business, but have to change the way they operate because I think it's going to be a litigator field day for the next 8 to 12 months when these rulings go into effect.
Without a doubt.
Oh, cool. Number 4 for me, I said the Yankees will win 98 games and the World Series this year by beating the Dodgers in the rematch. Juan Soto is gone, but the team is better. I also thought that he will hit 280, 27 home runs, 85 RBIs for the Mets, which is a good year by all standards. And Mets fans such as yourself are going to scream from the rooftops that is, of course, worth a $785 or $800 million contract, whatever he's getting.
You can't earn your entire contract in a season. So I want
$55 to $60 million a year.
So you're saying that we're going to scream that it was worth it?
Of course.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I think in year one, you have to support your player regardless. I think you start looking at these contracts more long-term. And if those are the numbers averaged out over the course of 5 years, that's obviously not worth it. But there are other numbers inside, baseball. Baseball's probably the only sport that has so many different statistics, like WAR, right?
Yeah.
Wins above average. So I'll be honest with you right now, and I'll go on record as saying if that's the year, it was a major disappointment from him. He's traditionally hit really well in Citi Field.
We move on. I don't want him to get hurt. He's a great player. I really enjoyed what he did, but he's dead to us now.
Yeah. So one of my industry predictions was that data control is going to be the new currency for the consumer.
Okay.
And I think, obviously in my last prediction, I covered a lot of what I wanted to speak about here, but I don't think it's just, you've seen it in CCPA, you've seen it in what is it?
GRDP?
GDRP?
Yeah. The European.
Yeah. And so I think it's happening in many ways. I think the consumer is going to get more optionality on how their data is shared and utilized.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be toggles and all kinds of things. But again, consumer data is gold. It's digital gold, and consumers are going to take that back slowly with the help of new regulations.
Okay. We'll see how it plays out. I think data is always going to be the gold standard. So
yeah, probably.
I have number 5, that AI content will continue to dominate LinkedIn, but we'll start getting sick of it. And I say we by more people than just me, because I've been complaining about it for a while now, but you go through all of these LinkedIn posts and there's a lot of great ones. And again, there's some great content out there, but don't say you're going to write a blog about digital marketing and then just have the same 1 through 10, boost this, amplify that, no fluff here, blah, blah, bullshit. Just having ChatGPT great tool. It doesn't make you a writer.
No, I think it will help organize. So I'm a bit scatterbrained when it comes to writing. So it helps me organize my thoughts. I do utilize it.
Yep.
Even for my predictions, I wrote all of them in and had to clean it up. Right.
We'll clean it. Yeah. That's, again, a little different and clean up, I think.
Yeah.
But I've seen a LinkedIn post once where there was an article and then at the end, it just said, in parentheses, change for tone.
Yeah. Look, I think, you know what, here's a true story. A buddy of mine was looking to sell his business, and he asked me to take a look at the deal structure. I said, sure, I'd be happy to. And he texted it over to me. And it was in the format of ChatGPT. And I asked him, I'm like, is this a real offer? He's like, yeah, this came from such and such firm, the M&A guy. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, this came from ChatGPT. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, you can just tell by the bullets and everything. He's like, wow. So people are using it for everything. If you are using it for everything, Zack Bloom will know. He'll call you out.
Yeah, but you can teach it too. Like I use it for a lot of things as well. And I actually have fun trying to get it to speak more like a person. I told it the other day, I'm like, stop with these cliches, like start cursing. And you know what? ChatGPT was like, I would prefer to curse.
Did it?
So mine's going to start, like, I think I'm going to get like Andrew Dice Clay soon.
Did it curse?
It went like with darn and hell. Yeah. So we're getting like the PG cursing, but we'll be dropping some F-bombs and God knows what in a few weeks.
You need to tell it to be more vulgar.
I think people are going to start to see through it a little more because now everybody's writing and it's not everything needs to be an article, right?
Have you seen those LinkedIn posts that are like the carousels that you got to kind of click through and there's a bunch of it's a bunch of pages. It's like slides.
No, I don't think so.
I'll show it to you later. My prediction is that's going to be huge.
Kind of like a Facebook story almost.
Yeah. It's like I guess it is like a story, but a Facebook story kind of clicks on its own. You click at your own pace.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it auto goes.
Yeah.
This goes that you go like after you read it and then.
Yeah. I always have to pause the Facebook story.
Yeah. No, I do too. It's annoying.
That fast.
But on LinkedIn, you actually go at your own pace.
Okay.
On a post. And so I believe what will happen is AI writing is going to kind of be washed out. We're lazy people. And what I believe will happen is we will start to gravitate towards more imagery and video produced by AI. And we're going to care less and less about the writing and more about the imagery. And I think that's how we're going to learn as a people. I mean, you look at, children, you have almost a teenager. You do have a preteen. I have a teenager and it's like emojis are a currency for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think to that point too, the visual on AI, video, pictures is far above copy.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get into it with a lot of our guests this year. There's some awesome things going on with AI for ad creation for, Meta and TikTok and a few of those other things that make media buying easier and easier to test. Yeah. I am not anti-AI. I'm just anti-using it for every post that you put out there. So diversify.
Right. So my fifth prediction was that compliance tech is going to be the new arms race. Okay.
Okay.
And I think, you look at the Journayas, the Trusted Forms, the Permission Trust, Sabia's company. You look at all the companies that are kind of looking to capture lead gen and do it in a compliant manner and screen record it. I think it's going to go much deeper. It's going to go much deeper in personalization as someone's filling out a lead form. But really where I think this leads is almost like a compliance data platform where you're capturing all this information, but you're also filling in personalization. So it's like, hey, Zack Bloom, do you agree to these terms? But also the imagery there is going to be based on your interests. It's going to be someone playing tennis or, someone playing baseball or it's going to take all the things that you like from social media, put it in the imagery so that you're more prone to convert and it's more personalized. It feels like it's meant for you, that lead form.
I think what I agree with you too on that compliance front, which we've had, offline conversations on, is there's an evolution in it now. So people aren't just trying to figure out the best compliance for how things were even 3 weeks ago. It's going to start to be like this next wave of digital marketing and add compliance for that.
It's interesting.
We'll see what happens. One of mine was about lead quality going through the roof as well. So you hit on that enough. We went there. I do have that Canada will remain an independent country in 2025. I don't think we're gonna buy it.
Will Greenland will Greenland remain part of Denmark?
I think Greenland will also not be purchased this year. But
And will the canal stay in Panama?
I think the canal will probably stay in Panama. No, I think while expansion is nice in theory, I think it's just a lot of noise coming out because inauguration days on Monday. I don't think Tuesday we're going to have eggs at half price.
Inflation's going to remain.
I think it's going to stay in place for a little more than a day. So I think some of these things are just kind of distractors.
Let me ask you this though, not to go on a political rant here because this is not a political show.
No,
it just has political under. No, but is this the year of imperialism for countries? You look at what Russia, is doing with Ukraine. China is threatening Taiwan. We're saying we're going to take Denmark if needed. Is this the year of imperialism across the global imperialism?
That's a whole other show. I don't know how to answer that. I think, we'll see how involved the U.S. is in world affairs.
Yeah.
I think when the U.S. is strong on the world stage, there's a certain order that maintains in the world.
Yeah.
If we become isolated, then who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting year. I have one more prediction.
Sure.
And this is from, in talking with, I hope she doesn't mention, I mentioned her name, Sydney Stife. She works at Direct Legal Marketing, and we were talking about the Headway app, which is it's like micro learning where it takes a book, it condenses it down into like a 15-minute, I guess, dissertation of what the book's about, right?
Okay.
And so I was speaking with her, and she was saying she doesn't read, she doesn't listen to audiobooks that much. She prefers to learn things visually, right? And so we were talking, maybe this is the year, or in the coming years, AI is going to be utilized to create movies about these books. And so you'll be able to learn about each book in movie form as opposed to it having to go to Hollywood. It's just the book is uploaded to AI creates the movie, and you're off to the races.
I hope not.
You don't want to learn that way?
I hate that.
Why?
I don't want AI creating movies.
You don't think so?
No, you still need I don't like AI with creativity.
Yeah.
I think ranted enough against AI where I'm one of the first people that's going to be killed when they take over.
Is that because you're mean to Alexa?
We went through this. I'm extremely polite and nice to Alexa.
Yeah.
Siri, we have issues.
Well, they're all connected to the same matrix.
Well, Siri doesn't answer all the time. Alexa is usually...
She's hard of hearing. We forgot our sponsor.
And good or bad, too. Well, that was going to be my next prediction.
Okay.
Do we have a prediction for Firewise?
They will continue to grow in 2025. They will expand headcount, and their CEO will be ousted by a very public ousting by the employees.
Will it be at one of his many summits that he gives speeches and dissertations at?
I suspect that he has some very strong employees now, so I suspect that he's going to let them lead the way.
Okay. Well, now though,
step aside gracefully.
Intact, Firewise is your go-to for all things fire protection and other
fire stop.
Yep.
Yep.
So, anything else that we didn't go through? I think you wanted to talk about TikTok.
Yeah. So, kind of the news today actually ruined it a little bit, where the Supreme Court is not willing to give a stay.
Which I was correct about.
You were. So I don't know what happens now. The Biden administration said they will not enforce the TikTok ban. So I don't know if that gives a little more leeway and wiggle room to them staying active. And then it's kind of punting it to the Trump administration. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think actual ban would go in on the 21st. So technically it would be day one of the Trump administration. So yeah. I think... I'm sure Trump's done a 180 because he hated TikTok and now he likes it because it helped him get elected. I still think there'll be a buyer at the 11th hour, but it's getting close to midnight pretty quick here.
I did read that the TikTok CEO is going to the inauguration, so maybe there'll be a deal done by the time the inauguration's over.
Well, someone's got to buy it, I think, still, so.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess so, right? Mr. Beast wants it.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I like Mr. Beast.
Me too.
We can't have more Elon. I don't think any administration would allow Elon to buy it anyway. It's too much of a monopoly.
Yeah.
I don't even think he could buy his way into that.
I don't think Meta can either, but who knows?
No, I've heard that douchebag from Shark Tank's been talking a big game about it. Mr. Wonderful.
He's been talking about a lot of things. He trying to get
All of a sudden
Canada.
he doesn't shut the fuck up.
He's trying to do the deal for Canada with
Yeah.
Trump. I don't know what his deal is. He's insane.
Yeah, where did he come from? He was always like the guy that no one gave a shit about on Shark Tank, and now he's got a lot to say, right?
He's got a big voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big boy, little guy too.
Is he?
Yeah, not that we're the picture of height, but so this is just our takes. If you watch this, feel free to put yours in the comments on YouTube or on LinkedIn. We want to hear yours too. Please disagree, agree with ours.
Yeah, put them in the comments.
Yeah, we like disagreements more than agreements too. So we tend to be in line today, which probably made for not as much of a fun show. It is what it is, though.
I'll be more adversarial in the next podcast.
Well, thank you for tuning in today. We do have a few great guests coming up in the near future here, so we'll be back to interviews and not just you and I, but thank you for watching. Thank you for checking us out. Please like and subscribe. I'm Zack Bloom.
I'm Sean McCormick.
Thanks a lot.
You know I need it, baby.